is fading.
40 years ago, if you're enough of a fossil to remember this, the WGN broadcast on Chicago TV was intercepted by who would appear to be Max Headroom. If you haven't heard of Max Headroom, he is what we call a prehistoric AI TV host.
Have you any idea how successful censorship is on TV? Don't know the answer?
It was back in the 1980s. Now, he wasn't actually computer generated or AI. This was an actor. But I think it was the deeper meaning behind the show that led to probably one of the most infamous TV hijackings in the history of our American television. So this first attack was late in the evening on WGN TV's sports segment. There was no message, no threats, just a man with a mask and a piece of corrugated sheet metal in the back, rocking side to side. So this interruption only lasted about 10 seconds before returning to the sports channel, and they were all completely confused.
Well, if you're wondering what's happened, so am I. Actually, the computer that we have running our news from time to time took off and went wild. So what we're going to do is start over from the top with the Bears.
The computer took off and went wild. A huge part of the story relies on the lack of knowledge people had about broadcasting back during this time. The WGN probably thought that was the end of it. But before the night was over, and before any questions were answered, it happened again. This time, only 2 hours later, a Doctor Who broadcast was interrupted on the station, the Chicago station WTTW, which was a PBS affiliate. But this time, the dude had something to say. The second time lasted about 90 seconds because there was no engineers on the shift. The rest of the staff tried to figure out how to regain control, but they couldn't. So they had to sit there and watch and wait it out, while a man, probably for the first time ever, got spanked by a fly swatter on live television. People had no clue what was going on. The message was not clear, but there were several media references such as "Catch the Wave," which was a Coca-Cola slogan. He hummed the tune to Clutch Cargo, a very old cartoon from the 60s. I don't know if anyone alive has seen this. Most of the things he said is still up to interpretation. Some people think that he says, "I stole CBS." Some people think it's "I Still See the X," which is a reference to Clutch Cargo's last episode. Or maybe he was referring to ecstasy. I don't know. I wouldn't have read it off. In the aftermath, there was mass confusion and even fear. Some thought this was a mistake, while others believed this was something malicious, like terrorism. But for everyone, it was unbelievable. Back then, TV was larger than life. It held untouchable authority. It was professional, calculated, and regimented. And overnight, the whole perception was shattered. The authorities were not happy.
The FCC says the wise guys who pulled off this latest stunt are in very big trouble.
They vowed to locate the hijacker, and they reassured the public that such a crime is easily traceable and that it will easily put you in jail.
And while it may have been a stunt, it is not treated as a joke. Chicago's video pirate could face a jail sentence and fines for his freelance exercise in public access. Jack Connerty, Fox 32 News.
The FCC, along with many of the news station hosts at the time, publicly warned the attacker that they are easy to trace down and that any further hijackings would only make their sentence longer.
The incidents are now under investigation by the FCC and the FBI.
But the odds, I'd say, if a guy continues to involve himself either sporadically or continuously, it's very great that we will determine who it is.
So what does this guy do? He hits him a third time. Just kidding, there's never evidence of a third incident. You might see these videos on YouTube. They're all fake. Wanted to make that joke because unfortunately, the whole mystery ends here. 40 years later, people are still making theories. Some say this was an inside job. Others thought it was the government. Some thought it was Russian hackers. Despite the best efforts, this guy was never found. There was no arrests and no suspects were ever publicly named. The statute of limitations for this crime have been gone for a long time, but nobody has come forward to confess or even brag. There are some people online who claim that they did it, but none of them have proof, and we all know that everyone on the internet is a liar. So this kind of wraps back to the big mystery of it all. Why? What for? And how so? In order to pull off this stunt, a person would have to be very knowledgeable on broadcasting and have the right equipment. So it's not far-fetched to think that the person who did this was experienced in the industry, and maybe they were a disgruntled former employee. Some factors that back this up might be how he mocked Chuck Swirsky, the guy from earlier. He also went on to supposedly make fun of WGN with this statement.
I just made a giant masterpiece for all the greatest world newspaper nerds.
Because it kind of sounds like the acronym WGN. I believe the most important part was the mask itself, along with the Coca-Cola slogan. This was obviously no accident. I think this shows a very critical part of why they decided to pull off this whole thing in the first place. Max Headroom was a show about a world where the media controlled reality, where corporations decided what the truth was. This was a world where attention was the most valuable asset. The show was a huge warning, and yet in real life, Max Headroom became the face of Coca-Cola, a corporate mascot, a complete joke.
If you can't beat it, catch the wave. Coca.
He was bought out by Israel. So what if the hijacker was a diehard fan who felt betrayed? This person could have been a viewer who was radicalized by the more conspiratory anti-consumerism ideas in the show. The guy jumps between topics and quotes without any real connections, but the mass remains constant, and this is what people remember. Maybe it was less about disruption and more about defiance, like a big Green Day special. And if that is what they were going for, it worked, clearly, because this struck fear into the broadcast stations that they never felt before. It showed them that they are vulnerable, and being unable to prosecute this guy, it showed them they don't have ultimate control. The incident could have been much worse. It could have been a terrorist, it could have been like Omegle. Imagine the public relations damage if it was much worse, how much money that would cost them, how many viewers they could lose. Now, I'm just making up theories here. Unless somebody speaks up, we'll probably never know why this happened. If my theory is somewhat, even 10% right, I think that makes the whole thing more beautifully ironic. He gave the world's greatest nerds his greatest masterpiece of all time, and they could not control the narrative. They could not explain it to the public because they had no clue what the heck this guy was smoking.